She calls me Daddy. Oh, Daddy.
Ah, that clip of Liz and Ed. Yeah, I just had to throw it in there. I couldn't help it. Welcome to Happily Ever Reality. I'm so glad you're here. Today we are going to be talking about 90 Day Fiancé, The Last Resort. It is the newest show in the 90 Day Fiancé franchise, and they have brought us all of the best and worst people, it seems like, to be on the show. We have Angela and Michael. He's going to be there through the iPad. We have Liz and Ed, Jovi and Yara, Asuelu and Kalani, and Molly and Kelly. We have Molly and Kelly. So some of the characters that are most polarizing on the 90 Day Fiancé franchise are going to be there at the resort working on their relationships. So let's just start off with, what did you think of the new show? Did you watch it? Did you watch it right after The Other Way? Were you able to sit through that much 90 Day Fiancé? I actually did not make it through both full episodes. I watched 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way and then half of The Last Resort, and was finally like, okay, I'm going to have to finish it a little later, which is what I ended up doing. But I did enjoy it. I think it's going to get better. During this episode, we see all the couples arrive there at the resort. Big Ed and Liz arrive first. They kind of remind us that at the tell-all from the last season Liz and Ed were on, that Ed was caught in a lie. He was not supposed to be talking to Rose anymore, and Liz found out that he was still texting her.
Has Ed messaged you or spoken to you the last couple months?
Yeah.
Let me have my ring back.
Oh.
And I guess they broke up for like 2 weeks, and then he had surgery and they started talking again, and so they're back here. They're trying to work on things. So that's Ed and Liz. That's where they're at now. Then we see Kalani and Asuelu. You know what? This is the couple that seems the most legit. Like, as far as needing therapy, they are going through some really serious stuff. We do see that they arrive there with their kids, and Kalani's sister has came along as well, and she's going to be watching them. And, Kalani's sister and Asuelu do not get along. But during this first episode, we really don't see her a lot, so I don't know how much of a presence she's really going to have in the show, but we know they don't get along. They've been married. Kalani and Asuelu have been married for 5 years. They've got their 2 kids. I don't know. When you watch this episode, this is the couple that seems to have the most going on, where it seems like legitimately, if they don't work through it, this marriage is over. It feels like they really do need really intense therapy, like, as a couple. And next we have Molly and Kelly. And the reason I talk about how serious it is for Kalani and Asuelu is because Molly and Kelly, to me, shouldn't even be on the show. They're not a couple. They're not a couple anymore. It seems like this relationship is in the past for Molly and Kelly, and it just really surprises me that they're even there at a couples retreat or for couples therapy, because they're not a couple anymore. They don't arrive together. I don't think they're staying in the same room. They don't want to sit by each other. It just seems like this is something that should be in the past. Jovi and Yara are also on here. I have to tell you, I keep calling Jovi Javi. So if you hear me say Javi, I'm talking about Jovi. They are there. We know in the previous seasons, if you watch them when they were on the 90 Day Fiancé show, that they're having issues because Yara is really not happy. I think she is just unhappy being here in America. I think it's not went the way she expected. I think she misses home. She's from the Ukraine. There's a war going on over there. I think there's a lot of emotion there, and the relationship just isn't fulfilling to her. At least that's how it seems. And I think there's conflict. I think they could use therapy. They should be there. This makes sense for them. I will tell you, as I was watching this show, I found some of the stuff that Yara was saying very comical. I think it's going to be nice to have them on there, even when they're just commenting on other couples. I do enjoy watching them together. They don't get as heated as like Angela does or Molly. Things aren't as intense. The conversation is lighter between the two of them, and I think that's going to be good. Finally, Angela arrives. We all know Angela. Angela is enough to make me not watch the show. When Angela first arrived at the hotel, all I kept thinking was she could actually fool someone, because when she showed up, she had her best manners on display. She seemed like she sort of had it together. And then it's like a switch flips and Angela just goes back to being the Angela we all know. And she started oversharing with the hotel staff all about Michael and how he cheated on her and how awful he was. It's like for just a few seconds, it seems like she has it together and then she reverts back to the Angela we see on the show. We do find out that Ed and Liz are planning a move from California to Arkansas. They are hoping this will help their relationship. I have to admit, I rolled my eyes a bit when I heard it. However, Liz did mention that she feels like Ed is the best version of himself when he's there near his family, and then she can be the best version of herself. You know, they're not fighting as much, so things are just better when he's got the support from his family and he's out of California. So maybe this will work for them. You know, I don't think it's necessarily going to be all it takes to save the relationship. I think they're going to need more work than that. But sometimes leaving a certain environment can help you a lot. And so, you know, maybe this is what Ed and Liz need. Maybe getting out of California and putting the past in the past will help them. So all of the couples end up coming together at the pool that has been put on their schedule. So in their hotel rooms, they have those schedules. The couples all go meet by the pool. I was surprised by how nice everyone was to each other. We know that Yara and Jovi had some issues with Ed and Angela back during the tell-all of the last season. So I was expecting the worst. But Angela kept it together. Yara did too. Everyone was very cordial. And everything kind of went smoothly. I was surprised by a part where Kalani was talking to Angela. I'm surprised by how well they get along. And Kalani actually goes as far as saying that her and Angela are a lot alike because they both have big hearts and they really want to take care of the people that they love. But I was just surprised to hear that from my perspective. Angela is a very unique person, so I don't expect people to say they're like her. But Kalani said that, and they ended up talking and having some conversations. And Angela actually pointed out that Michael and I keep saying his name wrong too. I think I am. What's his name? Asuelu. There we go. Michael and Asuelu have something in common, and that is that they are both very immature. She referred to them as boys. And you know what? I don't know about Michael so much, but I definitely feel like Asuelu is immature. He acts like a boy. He is not grown up yet. And they talked about that. I do want to throw in a clip of Asuelu talking about Angela because I found this really funny.
I love to see her. She always bring good vibes and bad vibes. I usually just laugh. I just don't take her so seriously.
And Asuelu is absolutely right. He might not be very mature, but Angela has her own issues. And he's right. She brings the good vibes and the bad vibes. You just don't know what you're getting from her. But when they were all there meeting and having a few drinks and hanging out at the pool, everyone was really on their best behavior. After they all hang out and have plenty of adult beverages, TLC sends them over for a therapy session, and this is where we find out more about what's really going on with each of the couples. There, during the therapy session, that we really find out more about Kalani and the infidelity in the relationship with Asuelu. That is the part of this that to me is the most, I don't want to say interesting, but the part of it that's going to pull me in because it does seem the most legitimate. When the couples all go over there to sit on the beach and do this session, you see that Molly and Kelly do not sit together. They won't even sit by each other. All the couples are together, but not them. Just another reason they shouldn't be on the show. Like they're done. But the therapists end up making them go over and sit by each other. And there ended up being this part that I thought was so funny. You know, you hear Molly talk about what's wrong in the relationship. And she says that, you know, he worked for the NYPD and he had this powerful job. And you can tell she sort of viewed him as the masculine man. He was going to come into her life and do all the things that were difficult for her to do. And he had this job as an officer and, you know, she had a vision of him. And then he got there and he was like not working anymore. She actually said he was retired, but that surprised me because he's not that old. But she referred to him as retired. I don't know how retiring from the NYPD works, but he is there in Georgia with her now and he wasn't working. Not now. They don't live together now. But when he first arrived there, he wasn't working. She said he just sat on the couch and watched TV. So ultimately, he didn't end up coming into her life and doing all of the chores for her. And I think Molly is someone who does a lot of stuff. I think she seems pretty high energy. She's got her own business. She's been on other shows even before 90 Day Fiancé. So she is just out there doing all this stuff. And I think he wasn't. And it wasn't a good match. But there's a part where he talks about it, and then Yara and Jovi, it like switches to them doing a confessional, and they're talking, and I want to throw in the clip because it had me laughing. I thought it was hilarious.
What is a do boy?
I have no idea. Never heard of that before.
Do boy?
Maybe just like do all your stuff for you. I don't know.
Yeah, do the stuff for you, boy. Can you be my do boy?
No.
I just felt like that question and the interaction between the two of them was funny, and honestly, it was quite cute. I hope that we get some comic relief when we get to the confessionals and we hear the couples talking. So Molly and Kelly really talked a lot there. We also get to the part with Kalani and Asuelu, and man, was that wild. It did not go the direction I thought it was going to go. Basically, she finds out that he has had some sort of physical contact with another woman while he is out there on a trip visiting his father. And then he gives her sort of a hall pass. Now, he says it was just a kiss. He just kissed someone. It was no big deal, nothing more, but he gives her a hall pass and she takes it.
I did take the hall pass.
You did?
Damn, I wish I had your guts.
Now, she has never been physical with any other man besides Asuelu. There's probably some part of her that's like, hey, I wonder what it'd be like to be with somebody else. And he's saying, do it. It's no big deal. It's okay if you do it. And so she did. And it went further than what Asuelu went with the girl he supposedly just kissed. Now, they did not go into how often... they did not tell how often Asuelu was seeing anyone else, how much infidelity there was in the relationship. I don't feel like we've gotten all of the details yet, but it is just, man, I was not expecting Kalani to say that she took the hall pass and then went so far with it. You know, he was the only man she's ever been with, and now there's a number two, and it's because he opened the door. Essentially, she said it. I wouldn't have been with anybody else. I was fine being just with you. But then when you said, okay, you can have a hall pass, go be with somebody else, I did it. So, you know, he is probably regretting his actions in so many different ways, not just because of what he did, but also now their relationship is just, I mean, that's a lot of damage done there. You know, it's just, I don't know. I've always felt like Asuelu was very immature. I felt like some of it was immaturity. I thought some of it was cultural differences, and he wasn't prepared for life in America and all the responsibilities that come along with living here. You don't just come to America and build a house and have a life, and it involves a lot of steps. You know, just to, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, hey, I want a house. I'm going to go build a house out of some trees that are right here, and I'm going to live in it, and life is good. Everything is complicated. Everything is super complicated. I don't think he was ready for it. I think he expected there would be some simplicity here that's just not here. And then there's the whole economic side. It's expensive and complicated. You're getting double issues there. And I don't think Asuelu was prepared for that. So I think a little bit of it's immaturity. A little bit of it is just America and what it's like to end up here. Their kids are really young. I mean, they have little children. So I hope that they're able to either work through this or at least work through their issues enough that they can be positive about their future and look forward to their future co-parenting together, because they're going to have to let this stuff go, whether it's to work things out as a couple or work things out as co-parents. You cannot hold on to these issues. But I do feel like Asuelu's immaturity is a part of this. Even when they arrived at the hotel, did you guys see the part where he flung his clothes off and ran into the water? And I realized he was excited to be there. And there are a lot of people that will get to the ocean and, you know, take their shirts off and run into the water. It's not unheard of. I just think when you think about Asuelu and all the things he's done and his behavior, it just aligns with that sort of I don't know, his immaturity. The time that always stands out to me is when they were looking for homes and they went into like a model home. And I don't remember if it was a model home or it had just been staged, but there was a bed in the home and like he's jumping on the bed and like flopping on the bed, and she's walking around asking, and I can't remember if they were buying, I don't know if it was a realtor or a leasing agent, but she's speaking to this professional about this place that they might live, and he's flopping on the bed. I'm like, I would be embarrassed. I would feel embarrassed if the other adult that should have been asking questions was flopping all over the bed. I don't know. So to me, him running into the ocean just aligned with my vision of who he is. And hearing someone like Angela call him a boy, you know, even Angela sees it for what it is. He's not that mature. And again, I don't think he was prepared for all the complications and all the issues with money that come along with living in America. It's expensive here. And if you're not used to that, it's going to be really hard to adjust. So that is an overview of the whole show. But I want to tell you one thing I would change if I could, and that is Michael being there on an iPad. I'm just not a fan of that. You know, the only reason this is happening is because they want Angela there. And Angela brings the drama and the chaos with her. So they're like, okay, Angela needs to be there, but Michael can't travel to America. At least that's what I'm guessing. Michael can't come here. So what do? We'll just put him on an iPad. Like, I think they wanted Angela so much that they were going to do whatever they could to have Michael's presence there, so it made sense, even if it's just ridiculous. There was a show on back in the early 2000s. Actually, I think it ran until like 2014, 15. It was called Community. I want to say it was on kind of at the same time as like Parks and Rec and The Office. I feel like that was all the same time frame. But the show was called Community, and there's an episode where these prisoners are going to begin attending college, but they can't actually leave the prison. So they roll around on iPads and they just talk. They're like, it's like an iPad with a head on it, just like Michael was. And they roll around to attend class. And that's all I can think of when I see Michael, is that episode with those inmates rolling around and attending class and like talking to people like they're there, but they're really iPads. I wish Michael could actually be there. I think that would go a lot better than the whole iPad situation. I feel like he's just sitting there. We also know, and Angela brings it up, it's like 2:30 in the morning for him. So it is like night for him, and he's waking up in the middle of the night. If he was there, you know what, they could have given him a few days to adjust to the time zone, and he could have actually been present and fully participated. But you know what, Angela, man, she has got a grip on TLC, doesn't she? Because they are going to make sure she is there for these 90-Day Fiancé shows. So that is it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Go ahead and click like and subscribe. And I hope you come back to Happily Ever Reality.
I was like, that's a yeast infection. You have thrush.